I want to talk about the latest release of these Epstein files, and there was somebody that actually wanted me to give my opinion on this situation. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I've been pretty busy lately. I haven't really been following this situation as of late because I've just had a lot of stuff to do, and but I was kind of reading up on it and trying to figure out what's going on. So apparently, according to this thing here, it's saying that nearly 30,000 documents. So think about it. They had this many documents, like not publicly available, but now they are. So if they had 30,000 documents just basically sitting on the back burner, it makes you wonder how many more documents haven't they revealed to us yet. There could be way more documents in this, and I believe there's way more than 30,000 documents. This is just what they released. So it says 30,000 documents were published in the latest Department of Justice release, the most to date, including emails, evidence inventories, and other investigative materials. That's a lot of documents. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Again, there's probably way more than that, but so apparently some of these documents were photos of images. They say 3,500 nude images. That's insane. They say some of the documents include prominent names like Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, Michael Jackson, Kevin Spacey. And you know, it's interesting, like I look at this and I'm like thinking about it at the same time, and I don't think that they're ever really going to release any sort of real incriminating evidence on any of these people that are in the files, like, because according to what I've read, there isn't really anything that's actually incriminating in what they released. It's just names that were associated with Jeffrey Epstein, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they did something wrong. It's not necessarily incriminating evidence, but in my opinion, there's probably some incriminating evidence out there, but I just don't think that, in my opinion, they're ever going to release that. And you have to remember, these are people with hundreds of millions of dollars in net worth. And so I think that when we're talking about people in that tax bracket, these are people that can pay people off legitimately, like pay people off to not truly release anything incriminating. Like, if you don't think that that type of stuff happens behind the scenes, then yeah, you have a very rosy colored worldview. I'll tell you that. It also says there's flight logs, mentions of travel. It says that Donald Trump traveled on Epstein's private jet at least 8 times in the 1990s, more than what was previously reported, sometimes with Ghislaine Maxwell aboard. And, you know, again, it's just enough release to say, okay, yeah, Trump was associated with Jeffrey Epstein, but that's not necessarily saying that he did something wrong. You know, they're not going to really surpass that threshold of saying like, oh, he did this or he did that. It's going to be like, okay, he did this thing associated with Epstein, but what they released wasn't anything that was truly incriminating. And I think that there's probably more documents that show more that we don't know. And let's see, it says that because I'm trying to get a gist of what's going on here. Flight logs, images, internal government email chains. The documents do not contain any major new revelations of criminal conduct by powerful figures beyond what was already known. You see what I'm saying? This is what I'm talking about. They're going to release so much to that threshold to where it's like, okay, we'll point out all of his associations. Like, okay, he probably associated or did business with a lot of people. Maybe they were friends, but they're not going to say they did this thing that was illegal together, or that, like, they're not going to truly release that kind of information. And so it's like, well, you released 30,000 documents, but yeah, it's just, and it really makes you stop and think about the fact that you have so many people in power that do so much behind the scenes that we don't even know. Like, you have to remember, like, we, me and you watching this video, like, we have actual morals and ethics, right? But when you get into the tax bracket of hundreds of millions of dollars, billionaires, I mean, we're talking about a lot of people in that tax bracket that have a skewed or flawed or merely no moral compass at all. They have no morals and ethics, and they have the money to pay people hush money. They have the money to get what they want to get done, and they're determined to not let anybody stop them in their tracks. And so there's no surprise that there's nothing truly revealing when it comes to this nearly 30,000 document release. I sit back and I think, like, why do we still trust these rich people in the 1%? Like, do we really trust these people? Politicians, celebrities, like, why do we idolize them? And I know I'm kind of all over the place with this video, I'm sorry, but we still idolize politicians. Politics it gets people so divided. It gets people so riled up. But when you stop and think about it, behind the scenes, I truly believe many of these politicians are on the same team. Like, how can you not be on the same team? And y'all are literally both people with hundreds of millions of dollars, perhaps billions of dollars in net worth. Like, when you have billions of dollars in net worth, you're connected, and you're probably connected with people on both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans. That's what I think about. You're probably connected with other celebrities with hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars. Like, it's a small circle of people that are in this tax bracket. We're definitely not in it. But, and it's also crazy too how we let people, or I guess you can say we elect people who really cannot relate to the average American's experience. Like, we elect them and they basically rule over us. And it's like, these are people that can't even relate to, like, the common working man and woman's experience in America. Like, do you think a Donald Trump can actually relate to the common person's experience in America? Struggling to keep a roof over their head, struggling to put food on the table, struggling to find a job after being laid off because their job was automated or sent overseas. Well, they can't relate to that, because a lot of these rich people, they're the ones that's sending the jobs overseas. They're the ones that sent your job overseas. They're the ones that basically got rid of your job because they're trying to move into this whole AI thing when they're already, like, ultra rich anyway, because, like, I just don't understand. It's like, well, actually, I do understand. It's actually quite easy to understand when you think about it. I mean, when you have a lot of, like, political propaganda, kind of turns off your logical thinking part of your brain and turns on your emotional part of your brain. do the advertising. It's like, yes, yes, this person said he's going to do this. I believe him. I'm going to vote for them. But then when they turn around and pretty much do what they want to do, not what they promised the American people, everyone acts surprised and shocked. It's all very interesting to think about. Now, I sometimes think about just getting a little plot of land in the woods somewhere and building my own little cabin, trying to live off the land as much as I can. I mean, I know it's going to be hard to do it 100%, but sometimes it's like I imagine doing that in my head, because this type of stuff here just legitimately is pretty fatiguing. Like the fact that you have people with billions of dollars that are just doing whatever they want to do. And I'm not even just talking about this situation. I'm talking about in general. Like, a person with billions of dollars can literally affect the average working American's lives in such vast ways. But when you stop and think about it, the more self-sufficient you are, the more you don't need these people. And I do suspect that in the coming future, you probably will have more people that say, you know what, I'm tired of living this life. I'm going to go off into the woods. $15 an hour isn't enough anyway. They're just going to try to do their best to live off the land, if at all possible. Build their own little shelter in the woods and just kind of live their life away from the madness. I think that that'll actually be some people's form of peace, some people's form of healing. But, it's also good. So if you live off the land, and if you think about it, you'll probably be able to eat healthier. And so, yeah. And in general, you'll be more self-sufficient. I watch a decent number of like homesteading YouTube channels, and kind of teaches you the value of like at least being able to grow some of your own food. I'm not saying you got to grow everything, but at least having that kind of like self-sufficiency. I mean, the power that comes with being able to like grow your own food and not rely on anybody else. There's power in that in a way. But when we rely on all these rich people to rule over us, billionaires, and then we're constantly fed entertainment to keep us distracted, entertainment to keep us in a state of mind that isn't really focused on what really matters at hand, then you're going to have a lot of people that just kind of go through the motions of life. They work, go home, get entertained, sleep, wake up, do it all over again. Well, I don't even want to go there with it, but it's all just ridiculous. You really think about it. But you kind of have to be in an awakened state of mind to even realize what's going on. Your whole livelihood is controlled by people that have no way of even understanding what you go through day to day as an American working class person. Like, think about it. The owners of the corporations that produce your food are probably multimillionaires. A lot of these government people that work in government high positions and stuff, they're probably millionaires. We know the president is extremely rich. The people that own the social media platforms that you're on every day are billionaires. The people that own the television stations that you watch are billionaires. The people that own the radio stations you listen to are millionaires and billionaires. Your whole way of life it's all a bunch of super rich people that can't relate to you. It's kind of interesting when you think about it, but oh man, I don't know. But that's just kind of my thoughts on this situation. I did not really think that they were gonna have any sort of truly revealing information. They might have another release where there's even more names, but it's not gonna truly be something that is actually revealing criminally about what has happened. They're going to maintain this story that, oh, it was this Epstein and his wife, or girlfriend. I don't know. Did he marry Ghislaine Maxwell? I don't know if it was his wife or girlfriend. I don't know. His significant other. They're not going to put all these super rich people's names in any sort of like activity that could be incriminating. But that's where we're at with it. That is where we're at with it. Just remember, there's true power in self-sufficiency. There's true power in self-sufficiency. But yeah, it's pretty disturbing what's going on with this situation. I mean, it's fine that they're releasing this stuff. They should have released this stuff years ago. But I just don't think they're releasing everything. And that's the unfortunate situation. But anyway, that is about it for this video. I'm bringing this video to a close. I really do hope that you stay tuned for more videos.